It's Black Friday, baby! It's Black Friday, baby! We're open 6 a.m. Look at the lot. Horde of customers, dude. We had like 30 people camp out. It was crazy.
Bruh, is y'all broke? Is everybody broke? Or this Northlake just did? It's Black Friday. Ain't nobody in this bitch, bruh. I could hear people breathing in this motherfucker. It's not a soul. Okay, it's one person now.
Americans can't afford Christmas in 2025, and the proof is in a single number that nobody's talking about. 79% of Americans have less than $1,000 set aside for the entire holiday season. Not for gifts, for everything. Decorations, food, travel, presents, all of it. And 26% of households have saved literally nothing at all. But here's where it gets strange. Black Friday 2025 just wrapped up with $11.8 billion spent online in a single day, setting a new record while Cyber Monday projections are coming in at $14.2 billion. The National Retail Federation is calling for over $1 trillion in total holiday spending for the first time in American history. How can both of these things be true at the same time? How are we setting spending records when most Americans can barely scrape together $1,000? The answer comes down to something economists are now calling the K-shaped economy. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. That $11.8 billion Black Friday number sounds impressive until you break down what's actually happening behind it. Online spending climbed 9.1% from last year according to Adobe Analytics, but inflation is running at about 3%, which means when you adjust for higher prices, that record spending translates to roughly 1% real growth. One economist put it bluntly, saying that with 3% inflation, maybe the 4.1% increase is a real increase of just 1%, which is not that much at all. Bank of America has been tracking actual transaction counts rather than just dollar amounts, and what they found tells a different story entirely. Transaction counts have fallen since January, meaning Americans are spending more money while buying fewer things. One analyst described the situation as consumers clearly spending more and getting less. Physical stores paint an even bleaker picture. Retail Next data shows Black Friday in-store traffic dropped 3.6% compared to last year, Saturday traffic fell 8.6%, and home goods got hit with a nearly 10% decline. One retail analyst described shoppers as being done with the impulse-driven frenzy, explaining that prices, tariffs, and tighter budgets pushed people to shop with discipline rather than adrenaline. The next time you see a headline celebrating record holiday spending, remember they're measuring dollars and not items. Understanding who's actually driving all this spending reveals the entire economic picture right now. The K-shaped economy works like this. Picture the letter K itself. After a crisis, instead of everyone recovering together, two completely different outcomes emerge. The top half goes up, representing wealthy Americans who are thriving, while the bottom half goes down, representing everyone else struggling to keep up. Moody's Analytics found that the top 10% of earners now account for 49% of all consumer spending, meaning nearly half of everything being purchased comes from just 1/10 of the population, the highest share on record going back to 1989. Morgan Stanley discovered that spending by the wealthiest households is growing 6 to 7 times faster than spending by the lowest income groups. Bank of America's wage data tells the other side of the story, showing low-income family wages are only up 1% year over year, while prices have climbed 3%. When your bills go up $300 but your wages only go up $100, the math simply doesn't work. Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell acknowledged this divide at an October meeting when he said that consumers at the lower end are struggling, buying less, and shifting to lower-cost products. The CEO of American Express called it a truly bifurcated economy, and one economist described the current situation as a K-shaped economy on steroids this holiday season. A Fox News poll from November 2025 found that 76% of Americans have a negative view of the economy. Those trillion-dollar holiday spending projections look different once you understand that a huge chunk of that money is coming from a small percentage of very wealthy Americans. The generation cutting back the most isn't just lower-income Americans, it's an entire age group getting hit all at once. Gen Z expects to slash their holiday spending by 23% this year, according to PETA, the biggest reduction of any generation by far. What makes this shocking is that last year, Gen Z holiday budgets surged 37%, meaning they were spending like crazy just 12 months ago. The job market has gotten significantly tougher for recent graduates, with 25% of Gen Z saying their financial situation is worse than 12 months ago, compared to just 17% who said the same thing last year. This generation is hitting major life milestones during a period of historically high costs, taking on mortgages, starting families, paying student loans, and dealing with record high rent all at the same time. One PETA analyst described Gen Z's approach to money with a memorable phrase, saying that price is Gen Z's love language. This generation has embraced dupe culture, seeking cheaper alternatives to brand names, shopping secondhand, and stretching every dollar while prioritizing experiences over gifts. Baby boomers are the only generation actually increasing their holiday spending, with budgets up about 5%, which makes perfect sense since boomers are more likely to own homes and have retirement investments benefiting from stock market gains. Most Americans can't afford Christmas, which raises the question of how they're paying for it anyway. The answer is debt at levels that should alarm anyone paying attention. $1.233 trillion. That's what Americans collectively owe on their credit cards as of the third quarter of 2025, an all-time record according to the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, up 54% from just 4 years ago. Nearly 7% of credit card balances transitioned to delinquency over the past year, meaning people aren't just accumulating debt, but actively falling behind on payments. The average credit card interest rate sits over 20% right now, and one analysis calculated that paying only the minimum on the average balance would keep someone in debt for over 18 years while costing about $9,600 in interest alone. 26% of Americans still haven't paid off their credit card debt from last year's holiday shopping, 43% are still paying off debt from last fall, and a third predict they'll have even more debt by the end of 2025. A LendingTree analyst captured the precariousness when he said that so many Americans are a job loss, income reduction, or medical emergency away from real financial trouble. Tariffs are piling on top of everything else, adding costs that most shoppers don't fully understand until they're standing at checkout. LendingTree found that tariffs essentially act as a $29 billion tax on the 2025 holiday season, translating to about $132 in extra costs for the average shopper. Think about that for a second. $132 in tariff costs, and 26% of Americans have saved nothing for the holidays. That tariff hit alone is more than a quarter of the country has budgeted for Christmas entirely. Electronics are getting hit hardest, with an extra $186 per shopper. Clothing adds about $82, and toys add around $14. About 80% of children's toys sold in America are imported, and major companies like Mattel and Hasbro have already announced price increases, with one toy store owner saying most items are now 10 to 20% more expensive than last year. One university professor summed it up by saying that almost everything we traditionally gift in the United States is affected by tariffs. Credit cards are maxed out and tariffs are driving prices higher. So many Americans are turning to buy now, pay later services, and the numbers reveal a growing risk most people don't appreciate. Adobe forecasts $20 billion in buy now, pay later spending this November and December, up 11% from last year. 51% of Gen Z and 54% of millennials say they use these services more often than credit cards, and among those earning under $50,000, 62% rely on buy now, pay later over traditional credit. 25% of users now use these services for groceries, up from 14% the year before, a troubling sign that people are using installment plans just to afford food. Here's where it gets dangerous. Over 60% of users juggle multiple plans at once, according to the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, and 39% of Gen Z users have made at least one late payment. Nearly 60% admit they've used these services to finance purchases they couldn't otherwise afford. The New York Secretary of State issued a warning this holiday season, telling consumers not to get caught in the revolving door of debt, explaining that these services make buying easy, but before people know it, the debt is growing and hurting their financial health. Statistics tell part of the story, but real families reveal what these numbers mean in actual lives. NPR interviewed a woman named Bonnie Green just before Thanksgiving. She's 60 years old, a professional, a homeowner who always considered herself upper middle class. Earlier this year, her job with the National Science Foundation was eliminated. She told NPR directly that she's significantly cutting out gifts because there's just no way she can afford it. And now she's using one of her mother's old books on celebrating holidays on a tight budget. Steve and India Posey from Massachusetts represent another reality. Steve works as a case manager for veterans while his wife works in childcare. 2 jobs between them, and they still can't make ends meet. They recently picked up Instacart as a second job just to cover rising costs. Steve describes seeing more people frustrated and angry, with an uptick in violence and substance use because people are just overwhelmed. Everything adds up to 2 completely different Christmases happening in America at the same time. Wealthy Americans who own stocks and homes are having a great holiday season, spending freely and driving the record numbers that make headlines look positive. Everyone else is cutting back, going into debt, and making difficult choices about what they can actually afford. 70% of Americans are reducing holiday spending in at least one area, with 57% saying they're being priced out of their own kitchens. Millions are adding to credit card balances they haven't finished paying off from last Christmas. The spending decline during the Turkey 5 period from Thanksgiving through Cyber Monday has continued for 2 straight years, falling nearly 13% between 2019 and 2024, with another 4% drop expected this year. Headlines will celebrate a $1 trillion season, but that number is inflated by higher prices and driven largely by wealthy Americans. That K-shape keeps getting sharper. The top of the letter keeps climbing while the bottom keeps falling. And Christmas 2025 shows exactly where that leaves most Americans. What's most troubling is that this isn't temporary. Debt accumulation, generational wealth divides, and reliance on buy now, pay later, just to get through December, are becoming normalized parts of how Americans experience the holidays. Every year, more families enter January owing money they can't pay back. Every year, the gap between what the headlines say and what people actually experience grows wider. The economy isn't doing great. It's doing great for some people. For everyone else, Christmas 2025 stands as a reminder of just how far apart our experiences have become. That's the real story of why no one can afford Christmas in 2025. If this helped you understand what's really happening, subscribe because content like this drops every week. Let me know in the comments if you're feeling the pinch this season. Thanks for watching.